Gabriella Alvin has written a delightful children's book entitled Athena, The Adventures of a Fearless Dragon. This is a heartwarming story about a little dragon born with her two back feet missing. And during her journey across the country, searching for a new home, she and her brothers learn to work together to survive while strengthening their sibling bond. Athena, The Adventures of a Fearless Dragon is now available on digital platforms.
Welcome to those of you who are viewing or listening from around the world to my journey with Paula G. We are so glad that you all have joined us because we truly continue to juggle this journey called life while walking in the gifts and the talents that God has given us. If this is your first time on the journey, thank you for joining us. Welcome. You will truly, truly be blessed. And if you're a returning viewer or listener, thank you so much for continuing to embrace this journey. You know, I always say time is precious. It is the one thing that you cannot get back. So for you to think it not robbery to spend this time with us, we truly, truly appreciate each and every one of you. And we also appreciate those who are embracing the journey through their underwriting support. That's right, our underwriters. For without them, we would not have this platform to share so many powerful, inspiring, and encouraging stories. So we thank our underwriters for embracing the journey. You know, underwriting is a great way to gain exposure for your business, for your product or service, while continuing to support the journey. So if you are interested in being an underwriter for My Journey with Paula G, please email jerryroycelive@gmail.com or paula@paulagvoice.com. Place underwriting opportunities in the subject line, and we will be sure to get back to you as well. You can also connect with me, stay connected on the journey through my website, paulagvoice.com, as well as across all social media platforms. Paula G Voice. That's it. Paula G Voice, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, Paula G Voice across the board. So we thank you all so much for joining us here on the journey. Before we have a chat with our guest, I want to take a moment and share with you a bit of Paula's perspective. And this comes from my book, which is entitled My Journey to Lady Wisdom After Midnight, which is a transformation of who I was to who I am today. Not that my life before was a bad life, but as you go through challenges in life, things change, circumstances change, your life changes, and sometimes transformation is necessary. All right, so here's an excerpt for you. The journey to healing and self-renewal takes time. It takes facing some unpleasant things. It takes admitting some unpleasant things. It takes accepting responsibility, and it takes forgiveness. Sometimes it even takes giving up the right to know or understand why something happened, because sometimes the answers are dead and buried in a person or persons who have passed on. And when I tell you I had to learn that lesson on my own, I'm speaking truth. This is not something that I learned in a book, although it is in a book. It is something that I have lived, that, you know, as we go through this journey, part of transformation is healing. Y'all, we've got to heal from whatever it was, whatever the hurt, the pain, the anger, whatever it was, we've got to heal from it. And we may not always get resolution for whatever it is. And, you know, as I said, the person that hurt us may have passed on, and we may not get that resolution, that face-to-face resolution that we desire. But at some point, some way, we have to find a way to make peace with it, so we can open ourselves to all that God has for us in front of us. I know it's hard, it's difficult. I am preaching to myself. I know it is difficult, but sometimes we've got to find a way to release the anger, release the hurt, release the bitterness, forgive, so we can open ourselves to all the blessings that lie before us. So that is Paula's perspective, and I hope that helped someone. And before I bring on my guests, I also want to give a shout out to my dear, wonderful friend of over 26 years. We were Army wives together. And you know, when you're Army wives throughout life, that bond never ends. And I just want to thank her for this wonderful gift, finding the joy in your journey. So I want to thank my dear sister, Mrs. Inger M. Ferguson, who is also the South Carolina Educator of the Year for this particular year. So we thank her praise God for her, what she does in her ministry of education, because that's really a ministry, as well as her creative ministry, as she too is juggling this journey called life while walking in the gifts and talents that God has given us. And speaking of gifts and talents, my guest today, this young lady, you might want to get paper and pencil. I tell you all sometimes get paper and pencil. You might want to get paper and pencil because I know she's going to drop some nuggets. She's an author. She's a screenwriter. She's an actress, a producer. She's a healthcare worker, and she is indeed juggling this journey called life while walking in the gifts and the talents that God has given her. She is Ms. Tiffany Elle Burgess. Tiffany, welcome, welcome, welcome to the journey.
Thank you. Thank you, Paula, for having me and always being supportive of my many jobs, the many hats that I wear. Thank you.
I think you are so welcome. I think you're such an encouragement because you truly are an example of juggling this journey called life because you still work full time while walking in the gifts and the talents that God has given you that I've mentioned, being an author and a screenwriter, an actress, a producer, a healthcare worker. So first of all, if you can, tell us a bit about your full-time job. And then how do you juggle it? How do you juggle it? How do you get it all done? Because you are just doing it.
Thank you. By day, I'm a public health professional. So I went to Emory for grad school and loved my experience at Emory and got a master's of public health. I went to Hampton University. So shout out to HU, the real HU. For undergrad and my undergrad degrees in biology. And I always knew I wanted to work in healthcare. I was pre-med at first. And so I do have that passion. So that's what I do by day, public health professional. I focus on chronic disease prevention. And then you mentioned the other things by night.
So wait a minute, let me pause you right there. So right now, at the time of this particular conversation, we are, some say we're beyond it. I personally think we're still in the midst of it. But anyway, we're the pandemic. So I would imagine that your day job has been amped up a bit.
It has. COVID has, the pandemic has changed things. I was on campus at CDC, and now I'm working from home, which is different because I'm a public health consultant housed at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. And I've been in public health for about 20 years now, which kind of gives away my age as well. But it's right. But yes, it's been busy. It's been busy. And I agree with you. I feel like we're still working through this pandemic. With God's grace, we're making it every day, and hopefully I know and pray that we'll get on the other side of it. But right now, I'm like you, I still feel like we're in it, and it definitely has ramped up the work that we do as public health professionals.
So now your day job has been ramped up because of the current situation, yet you're still walking in your gifts and talents. So share with us how that's working out for you.
It's it's a balance for me. It balances me out because I'm definitely someone who is the science health mind, but also have this creative side, and I have to use both for me to be happy and to feel fulfilled. So whether it's on my lunch break, whether it's weekends, whether it's at night, shout out to insomniacs. I do a lot of work at night, a lot of writing if I can't sleep. And just, it may take me a while. The first book took me like 9 months. The second book took me a couple of years, and just finished the first draft of the third. It's taken me like 3 years, but I get it done. And I just carve out time. You have to make time to really nurture the gifts and talents that God has blessed you with. And that's something my mother has poured into me. He'll give it to you, but you have to work on it, faith without works. And you have to do your part. And that's what I try to do. I try to nurture the gifts that he's given me.
So I hear within that and encouraging the audience, encouraging authors, and all of you have these gifts and talents, and you're saying, well, I don't have time to work it because I work a full-time job. What I was just hearing was praying for direction and praying for wisdom as to recognizing the opportunities, like you said, lunch break, recognizing that here's an opportunity where my lunch break is 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour, doing something with that time toward using my gifts, getting home and doing a lot of this at night and finding that balance. And it sounds like that your gifts and talents, you have the energy for them because they are your therapy. Is that fair?
That is fair. It gives me life. It energizes me. There's nothing like seeing an audition through. There's nothing like getting a role. Got my first role on the Wonder Years on network television. There's nothing like seeing what God can do in your life if you trust him and meet him halfway. Like, I haven't even met him part of the way. I still have a lot to, I'm 42 years old and I have so much more that I'm still learning about Tiffany Burgess, and I'm growing. And I'm amazed at what he's done thus far, but I'm excited to see what he has in store for me if I just step out on faith and do my part. So you have to carve out a little bit of time to learn those lines or to jot down some notes for your book. And don't put yourself on a timetable as far as finishing, because that to me sometimes can be a trap. Now it's time management, and you do want to make sure you have a plan, right? And it's okay to set milestones, but don't get discouraged if you didn't finish, by April. I wanted to have this third book done by last August, 2021, before I turned 42. Well, it's okay. I got the first draft done, the first quarter of 2022. And that's okay. Like that, I'm still rolling,
Yes. And okay, now I told you all, paper and pen. She just dropped some nuggets about the timetable and using your time. And I love what you said about meeting him. He's opening these doors and you feel like you've only met him part of the way, and you have so much further to go. And when he gives you those gifts and talents, he's given them to you. Now you have the responsibility of figuring out how to utilize them. And it's different for everyone, because maybe for someone else, well, I can't do it at lunchtime because I got to check on my kids, this, that, the other. Okay, that's fine. We're not saying that's written in stone. What we're saying is you have to figure it out for yourself, and it's not easy, and you might lose some. You gave shout out to the insomniacs. You're gonna lose some sleep,
right?
So oh my gosh, I know you just helped somebody with that. And then the books, that each one was not completed within the time frame that you thought it needed to be complete, but you kept going and you didn't stop. And now you've completed 3 books. I love it.
Don't give up. Don't give up. Sometimes you get discouraged, and it won't be easy, but I feel like nothing worth really having. It's just easy. It just comes easy, right? You have to put in some hard work. You have to, really focus and have this goal in mind, and then a plan to reach your goal. And then you just keep pushing, So Skin Like Mine, as I've told you before, wasn't a children's book. And I had been working on that since 2007 when I took an evening at Emory class. But when my grandmother passed and I found myself lacking that joy, I found myself feeling a little, dealing with depression, which I think we should talk about these things as African Americans, especially African American women. You can be a strong woman, right? A strong person, have a strong faith, but still sometimes deal with sadness or depression or something like that. And when my grandmother passed, my grandfather passed, the same year, I had lost some joy. And that's when my mother reminded me of some of the things that bring me joy and talents and gifts that God had blessed me with that I had not been focusing on. And that's when the children's book, Skin Like Mine, that's when it evolved. And I've just been running ever since.
Yes. Yeah. And all of this, you've kind of basically kind of given it to us in a nutshell, is a manifestation of a childhood dream that you had, and then the encouragement that you've had along the way by members of your family, and then how you channeled those gifts and talent into creating creativity during the loss, of your grandmother, and so many other events that have occurred in life. So again, as we go through these seasons of life, these seasons of loss, we're still juggling this journey, still
Mhm.
walking in the gifts and talents that God has given us. And you mentioned your books, and I've had the pleasure of being able to read them. They're so delightful, and
Thank
I believe one of them was read for the Storytime
you. Yeah.
network as well. So it's just been delightful. You also have a partnership with
Mhm.
two gentlemen. Can you share a little bit about that with us?
I do. Well, so it's actually about three gentlemen, but two different partnerships. But I have Tyler Street Films,
Mhm.
which is our film production company. My two wonderful partners, guy friends, brothers, Lawrence Law Watford and Jack Manning III. We all went to Hampton University together, and we formed Tyler Street Films, and we have. We came out with Flipped, our short film that was well received, and then Catharsis, and the guys serve as producers on Skin Like Mine. There's another Hamptonian named Stanley Autry, and he and I formed a partnership for Skin Like Mine, the animated short film, and he's also my partner on this third children's book. So I feel like as pirates, as alums, we're getting it done here in Atlanta, and well, Law's in New York. But the partnerships have really helped, keep me on task as well, and help me feel like I have that support and I don't have to do everything myself. So
Right.
they've all been blessings in that way.
What do you feel is the key to a successful partnership, or what has been your experience in regard to what has made your partnerships successful thus far?
I would say not lack, sorry. Well, yes, a lack of egos, but could you put that aside? But respect. We
Mhm.
respect each other's ideas, each other's creativity. You may want to do something one way. You may see it going in one direction, but you have to be open to your partners because they may have a brilliant idea and a different way, a different perspective of seeing things. And you have to be open to that because together you can create something beautiful like Flipped. Catharsis, and then even taking the children's book Skin Like Mine and making it an animated short film. I had to be open to my partner's ideas and views, and I had to humble myself. I'm the only female in my crew, so sometimes I feel like I have to stand up for this and have my voice, which I do. You have to keep
Right.
your voice, ladies, but
Right.
also be okay with humbling myself and kind of following the guys' lead at times when they have some really great ideas and some thoughts and some things. So that's pretty much that. Respect is huge in these partnerships.
You mentioned a little bit ago, I want to make sure that we get this in. You mentioned a little bit ago about depression and mental health and so forth. Can you share with us a bit about the short film in regard to mental health?
So I do have a short film that's in post-production that's also in partnership with Stanley. And we both star in it, but I wrote the screenplay for it, and Jack and Law have been very supportive, and then some of our other acting friends and family here in Atlanta. And it really, I can't say too much because in post-production, but I will say this, it shines a light on mental health in African Americans.
Mhm.
And I feel like it opens up the door for the discussions that we need to have. It's not something that we should be ashamed of. And it could be like, I feel like it's so taboo in our culture. It's so almost, people feel ashamed to even say they're down.
Mhm.
You can get down, you just don't stay down,
Mhm.
And so it's okay to have those outlets, go to therapy, talk to someone, And so it really, I feel like once it's out, it will open up a lot of needed discussions.
You mentioned earlier, thought just went through my head, I got to do things when I think of them when you get to my age. You mentioned the Wonder Years. Do we know specifically which episodes of if people go back and watch on demand? Do you remember which episode it was specifically?
It aired on January 19th,
Okay.
2022, and
Okay.
it's the episode I'm with the band. I think it's episode 112 on
Mhm.
ABC.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I thought there was one where, oh, a clerk in a store.
Yeah, that's I play
That's
the
okay.
I play the store clerk with with Dule Hill and EJ Williams, and it was
Yeah.
just some amazing experience. So yeah.
Excellent. 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 Flip, in the few, we've got maybe a couple minutes. Flipped was, to me, it was such an ingenious concept. And to watch it from the beginning to the end was just really so powerful. And I remember an interview with the woman that played the mother of the young man and her reaction. And it was just a powerful interview because it was sort of the shoes on the other foot. And now
Mhm.
she gets it, if that's fair to say.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
so can you
Yeah.
share a little bit about Flipped and how that concept came about?
Flipped is a short film that just reimagines the society, in which we're living. And the concept came about through my partner, Jack Manning, and he had been thinking about what it would be like to show people this side of how do I say it, racial and social injustice.
Mhm, mhm,
How do you get people to really understand? Well, sometimes you
mm,
have to have them walk in your shoes,
mhm,
and we try to do that and reimagine this society and put it on film on the big screen. And it's at the end of the day, it's about a high school, teenager who has been dealing with just some microaggressions and injustice, and it comes to a head. And you get to see what that's like for him and the situation he ends up,
mhm.
finds himself in, and then the outcome. And so we're trying to get it out there through different platforms, and it's been so well received. But thank you, Paula, for supporting it and the story that we're trying to tell.
Yes, and all
Yeah.
of the stories that you tell, whether it's on film or through your books, are powerful stories, stories of substance and quality, and thought-provoking conversation starters. You know, it truly is a journey. And you know what fascinates me about you is a degree in biology. And you know, when I think my father had a degree in electrical engineering, a master's degree in
Nice.
electrical engineering. So,
Nice.
you know, everything with him was black and white. You tell daddy, why did the chicken cross the road, right? It's just a joke. Well, first of all, what is the chicken doing out of the chicken coop? Chickens have no business. You know, like, daddy, don't analyze it. Just go with it. Just go
All
with it.
right. All
So,
right.
you know, when I think of math and science minded people, I think because of my own experience, you know, I think of that kind of everything is black and white. So it just fascinates me that you have that side of you, but then also such a creative side that is so, to me, outside of the box of, you know, a math and science mind. I think it's a beautiful thing. And I think it's really a wonderful, wonderful reflection of God placing gifts and talents within you and you having the wherewithal to utilize those, you know, to maximize those, a lot of which are yet untapped, as you mentioned earlier.
Thank you. Thank you, Paula. I appreciate that. I'm trying.
It's working. It's working. It's working. So share with our audience maybe some words of encouragement or advice that you may have for them, a nugget of wisdom, and also share your website and social media, how they can stay connected.
Yeah, I would just say, you know what, my one of my favorite verses is Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. And that's trust in the Lord with all thy heart, lean not to thy own understanding, with all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. And I feel like he's directing my paths every day. Sometimes I get off the path and he brings me back. So if you just, keep trusting him, keep praying, and keep believing in the talents that he's bestowed upon you, you'll watch it unfold in your life and you will be amazed. And I'm hoping this is just the beginning with me. You can find me at Miss Tiffany Elle on Instagram. So it's Tiffanyelle, and then Tyler Street Films, and it's TYLERSTREET Films. Both those are both our Instagram handles. And then my website is www Tiffany Elle Burgess.com.
Thank you, Tiffany, so much for joining us. Thank you
you.
so much for sharing with us. Ladies and gentlemen, I truly hope you took some notes, but if not, you will have opportunities to go back and view this episode because, as I said, she truly is an example of juggling this journey called life while walking in the gifts and talents that God has given you and staying focused and asking him for guidance and direction on how to juggle it and get and gel it so that it all comes together for his good. So thank you all so much for joining us. We have come to the end of our journey. We thank our underwriters for your underwriting support. Stay connected with me, Paula G. Voice, my website, paulagvoice.com. Social media across the board, Paula G. Voice. Thank you so much. And remember, the greatest conversation you will ever have is the one that takes place in between your ears. What are you speaking to yourself? Is God a part of that conversation? And are you listening to his still small voice? Until next time, embrace the journey.
Praise the Lord. My name is Dr. Roosevelt Robinson Jr., and I just self-published a book entitled God's Favor, My Wife. This book was prophesied by my apostle many years ago that said, I will write this book and it will bless many. I want you to go pick you up a copy. This book will inspire you, encourage you, and bless your soul. If you're seeking for salvation, if you're seeking for a closer walk with God, if you're looking for ideas for your youth ministry, if you're looking for that husband or searching for that husband or wife that God has promised you or that you desire, this book will inspire you, encourage you, and help you on your journey with God. Go to barnesandnoble.com, that's bn.com or amazon.com, and pick you up a copy. I guarantee it will bless you. I have shared my experience and my testimony of how I met my wife and we got married and how I have gained favor down through the years being married to my wife. Be blessed.